All right, good evening, Temecula. Today is Monday, March 14th, 2022. It is 6 p.m., and I'm calling this meeting of the Temecula Community Services Commission to order. And we will begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and join me. Right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And can we get our secretary to go ahead and do a roll call for attendance?
Yes. Commissioner Hawks?
Here.
Commissioner Krastevsky?
Here.
Commissioner Levine?
Here.
Vice Chair Audi?
Here.
And Chairperson Sizemore.
Here.
All present, thank you.
Thank you. And I've been advised that we do not have any public comments, so I will go ahead and dispense with the reading of those rules. And we will move down our agenda, and we're going to move things around a little bit. We are going to bring up the item on our business section, which is to receive and file a budget engagement session. We will be having a presentation from our finance department.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having me here. I'm Jennifer Hennessy. I'm the finance director with the city, and we also have Tricia Hawk, who's our budget manager. And tonight we will be doing a presentation called a budget engagement session. This is the second year in a row that we are doing this, and we are looking for feedback on certain priorities or whether you believe, well, we'll get into the discussion questions in a moment here. Let's just get started here. So we'll go through a very high-level, quick preview of what our budget process includes, some key budget policies. I'll touch on the highlights of the current fiscal year budget and capital improvement program, and then at the end we'll have some discussion questions for each of you to consider and have some comments. Little preview to what those discussion questions are going to be. So as I go through the presentation, keep these in the back of your mind, and then we'll circle back at the end with them. So as a commissioner, do you feel that the city's investment of financial resources is in line with the community's priorities? And if yes, what programs or projects are most beneficial to the community? And if not, how would you better align its spending with community priorities? And the reason for these engagement sessions is to try to reach down to the lowest level of the community, and each of your commissions has a unique connection with certain sectors of the community, as well as you're all a resident. So any feedback that you have would be welcome at the end here. So let me jump into the presentation. Our budget process begins in January of each year, where we review the current year's budget, and then we prepare the 5-year forecast for the next 5 ensuing fiscal years. And that really serves as our baseline moving forward into the next budget cycle. Through our review, we may identify changes that need to be made to the budget, whether it be revenues coming in higher than we projected, or a new project may have come about throughout the fiscal year. So we bring forward what's called a mid-year budget update to the council in February. And then we also add any projects or modify program budgets for the capital improvement program. Also, starting in February and ending in March, we do these budget engagement sessions. This is the last of the 5 presentations to each of the boards and commissions. And then really through March and April is when staff is working really hard with all the departments to develop their recommendations and their requests for the next fiscal year. So all the departments bring their requests forward. Those are then presented to the city manager, who makes his recommendations into what is called the proposed budget and the CIP, and that's presented to the council in May of each year. They have a daytime budget workshop towards the middle to the end of May, where they deliberate, and then if they have any adjustments that they want to make to the proposed budget, we add those in and bring that back to council in the first meeting in June, where they adopt the final budget as well as the final CIP. And then throughout the year, finance works with departments to do ongoing analysis of their budget versus actuals, on expenditures, on revenues, and then again, if we identify any adjustments that need to be made, we bring those forward either at the mid-year or to a separate council meeting. There's several different areas and tools that are utilized to gain input into our recommendations. The first one, which is the center box here, which says prior year carryover to complete projects. So this is where we may have had a project or a program start in a prior fiscal year, and maybe it didn't finish. So what we want to do is carry over that budget into the new fiscal year to ensure that those projects come to completion. And then we also have community satisfaction surveys. We have a formal survey that's done every couple of years, statistically validated survey of all the citizens, and we gain their input based on what their concerns are, what their priorities are, and we try to keep those in mind when we are making our budget recommendations to the council. We also get a lot of feedback through surveys. Right now, the QLMP process that's going on, we're getting feedback there, and then our budget engagement sessions here, we're getting ideally feedback from each of the boards and commissions. And then there are several master plans that the city has. You guys are probably most familiar with the Community Services Master Plan. They've identified lots of projects to incorporate into our CIP over time. So we ensure, if there's adequate funding, we'll actually include all of those recommendations in our CIP and in the programmatic side in the TCSD budget as well. And then finally, there are several city council policies that go into sort of how the foundation of the budget is built. And these policies were reaffirmed by council in early February, and we bring them back to them in the beginning of the budget cycle just to make sure that we're still working under the same general rules of thumb that are in the policies. But we'll go over a couple of those in subsequent slides here. But all of those combine in, along with what the departments have going on in their departments. Those are what create our appropriation recommendations. And then throughout the process, we have 3 key deliverables. This first one is an internal document, but this is a culmination of all the departmental requests that are presented to the city manager. We call that our preliminary budget, and that's really what's going on right now. And then the city manager makes his recommendations into what is called the proposed budget, and that again is what's presented to the council in May. And then we also, that's where we will incorporate in any recommendations we get out of these budget engagement sessions. And then finally, as I mentioned in June, the first meeting is when council will adopt the budget as well as the CIP in time for the new fiscal year to start July 1st. So the first policy that is a very important policy because it really outlines how we appropriate or recommend appropriating our available general fund balance. So as you may know, the general fund is the city's largest operating budget. It's what is used to fund police and fire, public works, community development, administration. It is unrestricted in nature, so as long as the expenditures go towards a public purpose, then it's an eligible expenditure of the general fund. Each year, as we close the books, we have our revenues and our expenditures and then our fund balance. Similar to a bank account, we have a balance at the end of each year. That balance is appropriated in certain ways. If there is, and we'll get into this in a subsequent slide, but the first reservation of that fund is to meet our reserves, which I'll go into in a minute. And then everything that's outside of our commitments and our reserves becomes available. It's important to consider this available funding as one-time money. So what the council policy does is it ensures that the one-time available fund balance is spent on one-time projects. So the first priority is public safety equipment or non-recurring programs. So again, one-time programs. The second priority is asset management reserves. And what this is we have several funds set up to build little savings accounts for the various different kinds of assets that the city has. So fleet, technology, facilities, and we build fund balances in each of these funds so that when the time comes to replace the roof, let's say that fund had been built up and we have adequate reserves to pay for those replacements. So a one-time use would be to add funding to each of those reserve funds. The third priority is capital improvement projects, again, one-time projects using one-time money. The fourth is to reduce our unfunded liabilities that the city has related to our pension and retiree health insurance, which is called other post-employment benefits, or OPEB. Technical, but the concept is there, reducing unfunded liabilities for the future. And then finally, the use to either pay down debt or invest in something that avoids needing to issue future debt. The city doesn't have very much debt at all. We only have 2 loans out. One is for this building and one is for the MRC project that's starting right now. And the next policy that really helps form how we make our recommendations is related to the Measure S fund. So Measure S is a 1-cent sales tax that was approved by the voters back in 2016, became effective in 2017, and at that time, council came up with these appropriation guidelines so that we are allocating and spending Measure S in accordance with the ballot language that was approved. So the top priority is public safety, and then second is asset management, similar to what I explained previously. Third, capital improvement projects, and then fourth is general or community services. And the pie chart, the priorities don't necessarily mean that they will be allocated proportionate shares. It's more just a priority list. So once public safety is fully funded, then we make sure that asset management's fully funded, capital improvements, and general services. So what happened as we closed the books last fiscal year, we ended up having a rather large surplus in the Measure S fund. So again, one-time money. So they added several new capital improvement projects at the mid-year, which is why the purple shade, or the capital projects piece of the pie, grew beyond that 50% mark. So Measure S, as of right now, our current budget is a little under $52 million. And then as time goes on and the cost of public safety and the cost of community services increases, that'll leave less and less money available for capital projects over time. So this is a summary of our general fund 5-year projection. We do 5-year fiscal projections for the general fund, Measure S, the capital improvement program, and the TCSD fund. Our 5-year projection looks very healthy. A couple of things to note on this slide is, number one, our revenue for the fiscal year 21-22, so the current fiscal year, is projected to be just under $103 million. That's the largest general fund budget we've ever had. It does include about $7 million of federal ARPA money, which is the American Rescue Plan Act. That ARPA money was taken out of the chart there just to show the trend line without the influx of the ARPA money. And one thing to note, well, a couple of things to note on this chart is, first, the black line references revenues, and you can see that in all years the revenue amount exceeds the blue bar, which is the expenditure amount. So that indicates that we are structurally balanced, which is where you want to be. Revenues are exceeding expenditures in each year. And you can see the dip that we saw in fiscal year 19-20. That was due to the pandemic and the economic impacts we had from COVID. We actually lost about 3.5% in our general fund revenue that year. We had anticipated losing between 9 and 10%, so we actually fared much better than we expected. And then you can see the blue bar in 2021 kind of went down from 19-20. That's our expenditures. So in that time of uncertainty where we weren't quite sure what was going on with the economy, departments did a really good job of being very conservative in their spending. They pushed projects off if they didn't have to start them right away. So our expenditures came in very favorable as we closed the books last year too, which resulted in an unforeseen surplus. But that's it for that slide. And then on the expenditure side, so our expenditure budget's about $84 million, quite a bit less than our 103 in revenue, so that's a good sign. But you can see here the vast majority of the operating budget is dedicated to public safety. So 46% goes towards police, 11% towards fire, and the rest is distributed between public works, community development, and admin. And this slide is sort of culminating all of the stuff we just talked about in revenues and expenditures, and this plots out our fund balance. So as I mentioned earlier, our fund balance is made up of reserves and then available monies. So for fiscal year 21-22, our ending fund balance is projected to be just under $50 million. Of that, we set aside $16.8 million for our reserve for economic uncertainty, and that's a reserve that equals 20% of our operating expenditures. That is what we would utilize in the case of, natural disaster, major catastrophe. To my knowledge, the city's never utilized funds from that reserve ever, which is really good. Even through the Great Recession and through the last pandemic, we did not have to rely on reserves to balance the budget. A few years back, we added a secondary reserve, and that's standing at about $4.2 million right now. That equals 5% of the operating expenditures. Again, that is for things like a drop in the economy, or if we lose a major sales tax contributor in the city. There's other policies that are written around as to what we can utilize these funds for and for how long and things like that. All of those are incorporated into the budget policies. But between the two, we have a little over $20 million in reserves. And what you can see on the chart there is that the black line represents the reserves. The yellow diamond represents where our desired reserve levels are. And you can see that in every year past and every year forward, we're meeting our desired reserves in every year. And then on top of that, we have surplus beyond those reserves going forward. So a very strong fiscal outlook as of right now. We're a very fortunate city to have fared as well as we did through the pandemic. A lot of work went into keeping a tight ship, and here's the payoff there. So switching gears over to the capital improvement program. Again, this is a 5-year planning document. We have about 96 different projects funded at about $720 million, a very, very large CIP for a city our size. And most notable is that of that $720 million, we have identified funding for almost $2 million of that entire CIP, leaving about $119 million as unidentified funding. So that's similar to where you have a long-term project. We've identified funding to start the project and do the design and maybe some acquisition of land, but we don't yet have the construction funding secured. So we are still working on identifying funding sources for that. The different categories within our CIP, within the circulation type of projects, so these are major road improvements. You can see highway improvements even on here. 29 different projects totaling $572 million. The largest by far is the French Valley Parkway Phase 2. That's designed to improve circulation on I-15. This is typically a Caltrans ran project, but the city is taking lead on it. And we were successful in securing a $50 million federal grant a couple years ago that's basically given us the full amount of funding to complete that project. And then the other ones here, I won't read them to you, but one highlight, the Pavement Rehab project. We fund about $7 million per year, and the way that they allocate those funds is based off of a pavement condition index that the Public Works Department maintains. So it's basically a prioritized list of roads from worst condition to best condition. They just tick them off as they can. And so like I said, we invest about $7 million a year in improving our road network. And then that bottom one, I-15 congestion relief, that's another one that's on the freeway designed to add auxiliary lanes to the freeway, which will help alleviate some traffic. That one is fully funded now, and it does include some funding from the Pechanga tribe. Infrastructure projects, we have 47 different projects totaling about $95 million. The biggest one I'm sure that you're aware of is the Margarita Rec Center. That is funded partly with a loan and partly with other sources of funding. We have the CRC renovation coming up as well. And then the Santa Gertrudis, this is always hard to say, Santa Gertrudis Creek Pedestrian Bicycle Trail Extension, which I keep saying I think is our longest capital improvement title in all of our CIP. I don't know why I chose to put it on here, but I did. And then the fiber optic communication systems upgrade. Those are the major projects going on currently in this area. And then your favorite, the Parks and Rec projects. I probably don't need to explain these, but we did, many of these projects were the recipient of that year-end surplus that we talked about early on, where we added another $1 million to the pickleball courts project. We added the Marietta Creek Sports Park. That's a new project. That's one of those where we haven't identified the full amount of funding, but we've put some seed funding in there to start the design and start working on that sports park. And then the $1 million for the skate park, and then $750,000 for the hockey rink at Ronald Reagan Sports Park. And then we have 2 affordable housing projects that are funded as well. One of them is a 77-unit multifamily development in Uptown Temecula. And then the other one is Vine Creek, which is down here off of Pujol Street. And we just added $4 million to that project a couple meetings ago to try to make this project more competitive in the housing tax credit market so that it can become fully funded. And then last slide here before we get into our discussion questions. I wanted to also illustrate what's happened to the city's headcount over time. So this plots the authorized positions since 1995. And you can see that in 2007-8 timeframe is when the city reached its peak headcount at about 210.75 full-time equivalent. And then you can see how that tapered off as we entered the Great Recession. And then it really was held flat for many, many years after the recession. And over that time, you can see the green bar is the plotting of our general fund. So our general fund between 07, 08, and current has grown by 43%. And our head count, the city council just authorized us adding 10 new positions at our mid-year budget update. So that will bring our total FTE count up to 190.95. That does not include all of the part-time project seasonal help that really support a lot of the community services programs and events, and nor does it include police and fire. So we contract, as you know, with the county for police and fire services. Fire, we have 71 contracted employees, and police, about 151 contracted employees. So with that, I'll go back to our discussion questions. So as a commissioner, do you feel that the city's investment of financial resources is in line with the community priorities? And if yes, which programs, projects are most beneficial to the community? And if not, how could the city better align its spending with community priorities? And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have had on the PowerPoint as well.
Thank you very much for that very thorough report. Thanks. We appreciate you coming to our meeting tonight. We will now go ahead and take questions from our commissioners. Commissioner Levine, do you have any questions or answer these questions we've been asked?
I do not have any questions. I mean, I was, you know, the way that the city kind of prepares its budgeting and everything is very familiar to me, you know, as somebody, you know, who works on the outside. And the priorities, I've seen these multiple times in multiple different forums. And I mean, from my perspective, it does appear to be appropriately, you know, designated. So I don't really have any questions at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner
Jennifer.
Levine.
Thanks.
Commissioner Kristofsky?
Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, I do think the city is doing a terrific job from what I see here. It's definitely in line with the community's priorities. I like to see that CIP is so well funded. I like to see that some of those projects include the road projects and traffic alleviation projects. I do like to see the investment in the parks and recreation, obviously. Yeah, it's just, I also really like to see that revenue exceeds expenditures, obviously. So good job.
You and me both.
Yeah, it seems like you guys are doing a terrific job. That's all I had, so thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Commissioner Kristofsky. Commissioner Hawks?
Thank you, Jennifer, for the thorough report. and I'm very happy to see the balanced sheet. I have a question about the low-income housing project, or how you call it?
Affordable housing.
Affordable housing. Can you explain a little bit? That's
How the affordable housing projects work? I will do my best. I'm not the expert, but so there's two projects, as I mentioned, and the affordable housing, there's actually a covenant put on the properties so that they must maintain affordable based on a certain standard calculated off of our median income. So there's different designations: low income, very low income, moderate income, and all of those are a percentage of what our area median income is. So depending on the project, there's certain housing units that'll be designated as very low, some as low. So it varies depending on the project. But applicants would have to qualify based on their income, and they would be allowed to, live in there. It's a more subsidized rent. And how that subsidy occurs is these projects obtain what's called housing tax credits to try to help fund the project so that it can be made affordable to those qualified applicants.
Thank
And then
you.
the covenants last for 55 years on the property.
And Director Hennessy, if I'm not mistaken, isn't the city required by the state to provide a certain number of affordable units within the city's housing inventory?
I believe so. I don't know what those numbers are, but I know our community development department oversees that. And there's a certain number of housing units that we're required to make available to build. I don't know the percentage or the numbers for affordable housing, however.
So that's a new requirement for the city?
That's the determination of what they call our RENA numbers I think were just redetermined this past year. We can get you some more information from community development, but it basically sets a standard that the city has to try to provide in terms of affordable housing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawks. Vice Chair Audi?
Well, thank you for being here and doing these reports. I just think it's so valuable for our commissions to have you do that. And also, I think you kind of slid by the thing that happened in the pandemic, and you said a lot of work went into that, keeping us above water during those times. And absolutely, the council, the commissions, the staff worked hard across departments, but most of the buck stops with you, and I think that the job you've done there and what you've shown us in this report is just spectacular, and I want to thank you for having our city in the position that it's in right now.
Thank you.
So I'm mostly a yes on that. I think we do a great job of following the input from our public, from our commission, from the means we have of getting our public opinion too, not just surveys, but through our commissions, through our council. I think we do a really good job of that. I also want to say is just, another part of that is the Measure S funds. To have 51 million that we're looking at is spectacular to keep our city safe and active. I would say that, Chair Sizemore and I are on the Blue Ribbon Committee in different capacities, but I think you've done an amazing job of following the 10 years from the first quality of life report to this upcoming one. I'm excited to see that same trend happening because we really are doing a lot of those projects fast. What I would say is I would like to see, I've always commented on when we talk about circulation, for example. So much money is spent on circulation, and there's some great projects, but oftentimes we look at it in a traditional moving car sense, and what we're actually doing is moving people. And I think when you look at the SIP plan, there's a lot of emphasis on trails, on
active transportation. But I think we separate those out sometimes. And I think that if we look at circulation as moving people, we can do a lot better in terms of the placement of our workplaces, our places we need to shop so that people can access those without taking car trips. And then the last one is combining that safety. Oftentimes we look at safety on the other end, the police, the fire, which is just spectacular, but we need to look at safety in terms of community services is the best behavior plan we have in the city to keep people away from making this place unsafe, to keep people active and positive and a high quality of life. So I'd just kind of like to, you know, have us look at those things in terms of combining instead of separating out. But thanks again. It's just amazing. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Vice Chair Audi. I appreciate your comments. Now I guess it's my turn to give my little bit of feedback. I would agree with Gary. One thing that I was seeing as you were pointing out the projects and the usage of funds in the budget, it is very in line with everything we hear discussed at the QLMP. It's in line with what I hear people saying. I'm very glad to see that we're maintaining our tradition of being fiscally conservative and making sure that we have a surplus. And that's a great thing to see. I don't know that all municipalities can say that. A question, the Mary Phillips Senior Center, I believe that's going to be undergoing some renovations. Is that reflected on the budget?
It is. There's a CIP for that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I wasn't certain that I saw that. I would agree that one of our priorities needs to be the transportation, the traffic in our community. I think that significantly affects the quality of life in our city. And I can appreciate your comments, Gary, on, I think the concept of the bike lanes, I think we tend to view that more under our recreation. And I can see where it could be beneficial to move that into considering that part of the transportation solution in our community. Gary knows I had the opportunity to enjoy an electric bike, and it was fun. And I've been having the conversations with my husband of, if I purchased an electric bike, how could I use that, not just to have fun, but to replace vehicle trips? And his comment was, I absolutely do not want you to do that whatsoever. And I'm like, well, why? He's like, you've driven a car in this city. Can you imagine putting yourself on the road on a bicycle? I love you too much for that. So I think I can appreciate where Gary's coming to, that maybe we need to be pulling that concept of the bike lanes out of being considered part of our recreation for the community, and maybe start to focus on how could we better utilize that to solve these solutions of traffic in our community. Yes, Commissioner Krastowski?
Sorry, hearing these great comments, I thought of one more thing, sort of related to trails and circulation, moving people. I think, and I mentioned this last year, but I feel very strongly that the city should take a look at, and I know we do this, but preserving open spaces. And open areas where people can go and enjoy nature. The sports parks are a great start, but even some more just raw land with trails on it, where people can go and decompress. I think that will definitely add to the quality of life. And you can tie in the trails and active transportation to that element. So, thank you.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the open space has always added to the charm of what Temecula is. And it's been the apartment complex on Inez, the Rancho Cal by the Duck Pond. It's been kind of sad because that's been, I know it wasn't city-owned property, they have the right to build on it, but it's kind of like, oh, that was part of, that added to the charm of our city. So, you know, the maintaining our open space would be a priority. And the top priority that you guys have addressed is public safety. You know, that's always going to be a priority in our community. I think that's foundational to all that we enjoy in our community. You know, people want to live here because it's safe. People are comfortable visiting here because it's safe. And, you know, we want more businesses to move here because it's safe. So I would agree with those priorities. So
Great.
Thank you for your time.
All right.
Thank you for coming out here, Director Hennessy. We appreciate you sharing this with us.
Thanks so much for your input. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All righty, we have done our business item for tonight, so we'll go back up to the beginning of our agenda, and we will take our division reports. Our division reports, our first one will be from Cassandra.
All right, good evening. My name is Cassandra Hargett, and I'll be presenting the first part of the division reports. Aquatics. The Aquatics team is now hiring. Please visit temeculaca.gov/jobs to apply. New and returning employees are eligible to receive a $500 hiring bonus. Gwen, Melissa, and Kristen attended the Association of Aquatics Professionals Conference in February. This conference provides networking opportunities and information on industry best practices. Next slide. Contract classes. Classes are in full swing this season with many options available for all ages. Spring break camps begin next week on March 21st and run through April 1st. Sign up today to secure your spot. The Scooter Jam event was held on February 12th. Special thanks to Scooter Zone for donating prizes and giveaways. Upcoming event will be the BMX Jam, held on Saturday, April 9th. Teen Zone is open weekdays from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Fee is $1 for an annual membership. February highlights were cooking pizza, making sugar cookies, chocolate dipping, playing balloon tennis darts, singing karaoke, and creating Valentine's crafts. The Teen Zone's monthly theme boxes continue to be a success, and nearly every box has sold out since the inception of the program in December 2021. Participants can visit the Teen Zone to open their box, meet new friends, and do the activities together once a month. Staff met with the Temecula Valley Chamber of Commerce to discuss solutions to address the increased homeless activity around them and in nearby businesses. Homeless outreach team provided a Greyhound bus ticket for a male transient who had an out-of-state job opportunity. He'll be living with a friend and was sent with snacks, drinks, and a hygiene kit for his trip. 5 illegal encampments were identified this month and 7 were removed. The annual point-in-time general count took place on February 23rd. This was a joint effort with the city staff, HOT team, SWAG, and volunteers. Unofficial count was 36, but we are still waiting on official numbers to confirm. Next slide. The High Hope Sweetheart Dance was held on Friday, February 18th and had 64 participants. Participants enjoyed dinner, dessert, karaoke, and dancing. The Skip Valentine's Day event took place on February 8th, and 29 participants joined in making tie-dye shirts, decorating their Valentine's Graham exchange bags, and enjoyed a yummy spaghetti dinner topped off with heart-shaped cookies for dessert. The Youth Advisory Council assisted with these events, and along with their own fun Valentine's event and public speaking event. The annual Senior Valentine's Luncheon took place on February 17th. The Mary Phillips Senior Center Choir kicked off the event with dreamy love songs, and staff prepared a delicious appetizer. Warm Center is currently in operation from Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. 532 people utilized the Warm Center in February 2022. Aarp Tax Aid Program takes place every Friday through April 8th. This program offers free in-person tax preparation, and all appointments are currently full through the rest of this season. 1,238 people attended the library's in-person programs in February. Programs included story times, African dance with Teresa Smith, cookie decorating, meet the instruments, and Candy Hearts Jar contest. Displays this month included a President's Display and Women's History Month. Baseball and softball spring season has officially started for local recognized youth leagues. TVSA, the local youth soccer league, begins their spring season on March 28th, and the city's adult softball league began February 28th at the new sports ranch at Summers Bend, and the city's adult basketball league will commence in March. Park rangers wear many hats because of the diversity of the city's amenities, visitors, and recreation opportunities. We wish this program continued success as it transitions over to the Temecula Public Works Department. Friendship Park Flood Control Channel Reconstruction Project is scheduled to be completed by March 18th. Vail Ranch Shade Pavilion Rehab Project is scheduled to be 2 weeks long and will be complete by the end of this month. The mini pump track at Wolf Creek Park will begin construction in April and is projected to take 3 weeks to complete. This concludes the first portion of the report, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Cassandra, for your excellent report. We will go ahead and take questions from our commissioners. We'll go ahead and start with Commissioner Hawks.
Thank you, Cassandra, for your report. I have maybe a suggestion or recommendation for the library events. I found the registration part may be a little challenging for the events. For example, you have to go in there in person the week before at 3:30 to register. Then the next week is the actual event. So for probably a lot of families, it's hard. It's hard for my family. I have to make sure I can be there at 3:30. So maybe in the future, there can be a possibility of a phone call to make a reservation, or the time, maybe there is a window, a little longer window, or something to make it a little easier for the families to register. Because those are great programs I used to go and enjoy, but now it's just getting a little hard to have to put 2 different times on my calendar. Sometimes I went there, oh, it's too early, can't register, then I forgot about it. So I would like to go, and I'm sure a lot of families probably want to go and sometimes miss the registration, then you can't really show up on the day of the event.
I'm glad you brought that up. I totally had forgotten about that since when my children were young, and I remember exactly what you said, having to schedule and go one day and then come back later. So I appreciate the feedback, and we will get back with the library staff and see if there's a better way we can do this.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawks. If I can add on to that, since we're on the topic of the library, have we had any luck in the app, getting back the library app?
No, the county has not budged on that, but I have a thought that perhaps hearing from you directly may help. So,
Oh, boy.
yeah, I can get you some contact information, and then if
That'd
you'd
be
like to
great.
forward your opinions, I think that would be
That would be
excellent for them to hear it from somebody other than just staff.
great. Okay, that would be great. Am I allowed to sign that letter, Chair, the Vice Chair of the Community Services?
Absolutely you are.
Okay, because I have to say, I'm kind of hearing that you have to go in person to register. Oh my goodness, this is 2022. We have a city app, we have all these apps, yet we have to go in person to register. That's like so 2000.
It brings up, not to derail too much on this topic, but it brings up an interesting question because the programming at the library is funded by the Friends of the Temecula Public Libraries, which is a nonprofit. They don't have software, they don't have anything exciting like we do. On the city side, we have robust registration software. And since they do all of the programming, they've also handled the registration, which is why it's stuck in the 1990s. But it's worth checking into, and nobody knows our registration software more than Cassandra. So
Okay.
we'll have some internal discussions and see if there's a way that even though it's not a city program, perhaps we might be able to utilize
Yeah.
our software to enable them to do an online registration
Yeah.
type thing. And if not that, then we may be able to find something else that could work.
Okay, that would be great.
Even like if you just think about what restaurants use for like Open Table or like get in line type apps, we may be able to find something like that.
Thank you.
But I
That'd
just
be
do
great.
want to say because the programming is run by the nonprofit and they are lovely, generous people who just are on a shoestring budget and, they don't have the resources we do.
Okay, that'd be great if we could find a way to help them, because that's kind of a win-win situation.
Agreed,
Win
we
for
will
our
look into it.
residents, too.
Yes,
Right.
thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kristevsky?
Thank you, Cassandra. Great report. I was going to ask the same question about the app, so that one's taken care of.
You can both email them.
I will. Question about the park rangers. What was the reasoning behind shifting them over to Public Works?
So there were it was kind of a confluence of a number of different things. There was a staffing shift as well, where we lost one of the rangers. We're going to be opening another recruitment. But primarily, it was one of those things where when you have an activity like opening and closing the gates, sometimes that was handled by our park rangers, and sometimes that was handled by our park maintenance staff. And so there was a lot of opportunity for miscommunication or misscheduling, or a gate didn't get opened. And also because our park maintenance division is not under community services anymore. It used to be until, I think, 07-ish. So it's just one of those things where like neither fits cleanly in either space. So Public Works really wanted the park rangers, and we really wanted park maintenance. And it ended up with the park rangers going under park maintenance. So the main idea, though, was to make the operations more efficient.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Commissioner Krasowski. Commissioner Levine?
Well, Chris took my question, so I appreciate you asking the question, Chris. Cassandra, great report as always, and appreciate what you guys are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, they say great minds think alike.
They do.
There you go. Vice Chair Audi?
Yeah, I want, it was February, hearts and all that stuff, and I wanted to, first of all, just, single out the staff that works with High Hope, seniors, SWAG, and it just really comes out that they put their heart into their work, and it's such noble work, and just wanted to make that comment tonight to thank those folks for what they do, and it's oftentimes not appreciated, and I know that, yeah, they bring home a gift every night when they see the joy they bring to the people they work with, or a swag, giving that person, a ticket home. So wanted to bring that out. And it's also Women's History Month. And that is awesome. And we highlighted it a little bit, Cassandra, in your wonderful report. But we're surrounded tonight by just incredibly talented women on our staff next to the dais. And we're so fortunate to have brought on another woman onto our team. And just listening to Commissioner Hawks in her presentations at the City Council, what a talented person she is. And then to have, for the first time in a long time, a commissioner, the chair on the commission, representing women. And I just wanted to bring that out. If you follow me on Facebook, I raised 3 daughters, and just surrounded by very, very talented women. So wanted to bring that out. And then on that point about the park rangers, I'm sorry to see that, but I think those are 2 departments that work so close together with park maintenance, especially park maintenance side of Public Works and community services. So I don't know that it'll affect us that much, but I see that that's just something that it's going to be in title more than anything else. We'll still get a great benefit from the Ranger program.
Thank you, Vice Chair Audi. The only thing I would add is I love our contract classes, and I spoke a little to Erica about this last week. I'd love to see incorporate some reels as we get towards our summer. Maybe some reels highlighting some of these classes. I would love to highlight Wonder Science. They run awesome week-long camps, and I think maybe having Mr. Miller do some fun experiments that go boom would be really exciting for a reel to build some excitement for those programs. And I did want to mention, I noticed in our daily emails that we got last week that the Junior Women's STEM program is now the Junior STEM program. I really appreciate that change. I think it's great that it's an inclusive program for all youth in our community, however they identify, to have that program to participate in. So I appreciate that. And now for our next report from Katrina.
Okay, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Katrina Thorson, and it is my pleasure to report the Cultural Arts Division report this evening. Starting off with Arts and Culture, on Friday, February 4th, from 5 to 7 at the Gallery at the Merc, we hosted a free public art reception featuring local artist Ruben Chavez, and music was performed by Michael S.G., and the featured artwork was a mixed media, and the picture that you see of Prince is by Ruben Chavez at the bottom. The other featured gallery artists were at the Rotunda at the museum, Susan DeArmond at the Ronald H. Roberts Public Library, Tish Wynn, and here at the Civic Center is Jenny Bates. So we are excited to announce that the Temecula Arts and Culture Guide Map, released last year, has won the 2021 California Parks and Recreation Award of Excellence in Marketing Communications for Print Publication. We just had a staff member, Jeff Lawrence, go up and receive the award, and it is currently in our office. If you ever want to check it out, it's there. And this map also has an interactive component that's available online at temeculaca.gov/arts and culture map in collaboration with our IT and GIS department. So community outreach has been on a roll this past month with a total impact of almost 60,000, 59,252. Our goal is to produce a reel a week, and last month we produced 6 reels with a total of 54,239 views, and we gained 178 new followers. So we think these reels really help with the outreach. And we also do have a plan to highlight classes, spring break camps, so keep an eye out for that. And media projects that were released this last month were the Round and About Temecula episode number 25 with 1,168 views, and Park Adventures series episode 16 with 142 views. Next slide. A little carryover from the previous slide. The first special event, the Margarita Recreation Center Demo Day, did have a reel on our Instagram page. It's a fun reel. If you haven't checked it out, I recommend you do that. You can see it's like a first-hand account of their day that day at Demo Day. There is going to be a new building groundbreaking ceremony on Thursday, March 31st. This past month was Temecula Special Games with 300 total attendees, 105 athletes, and 142 volunteers. And with our picnic shelter rentals and TCC rentals, we hosted a total of 1,700 patrons. Upcoming this month is the Carnival of Music, which is by the Temecula Valley Symphony and Temecula Valley Youth Symphony. That will be on March 19th at 3 p.m. at the CRC Amphitheater. And the Teen Nightlight Egg Hunt will be on April 8th at 8 at Kent Hindergart Memorial Park. Old Town Temecula Community Theater was just as full of delightful performances as any of the long months of the year. They hosted Clue at the beginning of the month, presented by Temecula Valley Players, and it was attended by 2,040 people. American Black History Month was celebrated by providing various impactful presentations on the social media pages and a special performance by Hipley Ballerinas. And at the end of the month, it closed out with the Temecula Presents student-led arts education internship production of Wizard of Oz with 4 sold-out shows. At the Merc, they continued the Merc series shows with 12 shows featuring jazz, country, speakeasy, and stand-up comedy. Country Live at the Merc featured Adeline Canada, who's a singer-songwriter who taught herself how to play piano, guitar, and ukulele during quarantine. And stand-up comedy at the Merc featured Dante, who has appeared on NBC's Last Comic Standing and holds the record for winning the most BET Comedy Awards, and that was another sold-out show, which continued Comedy at the Merc's sold-out streak. Over at the Temecula Valley Museum, staff was busy with an exhibit exchange in late February. Anime Temecula concluded in the middle of the month, and the art of rug hooking was installed and opened on February 25th. This exhibit is an original in-house produced exhibit in cooperation with the North County Wool Gatherers, which is a group in Fallbrook, California. This unique exhibit showcases incredible displays of beautiful handmade rugs, wall hangings, and objects featuring landscapes, nature-themed art, animal art, and more. I actually went to go see it this weekend. It's so hard not to touch because you want to touch. It's like all texture. They are pretty, they are very breathtaking pieces. Next slide. The student art mural that was up for the month of February was the Martin Luther King Jr. Art mural created by A.J. Peterson of Chavella Middle School. And they were presented a California State Assembly Certificate of Appreciation by Corey Uden on behalf of California State Assembly member Marie Waldron. Temecula Valley Museum celebrated American Black History Month with the student art mural, as mentioned before, and a virtual programming online, as well as second Saturday cultural celebration, celebrating the Republic of Benin. And this, every month, the museum hosts this with food, activities, crafts, and a free art lesson provided by Bigfoot art classes. And special to this month, Dr. Patricia Justice and her students depicted influential African Americans with artwork that was hanging outside the museum. Upcoming in March and April is the Gallery at the Merc reception, the first Friday of the month, April 1st, featuring Bryant and Barbara Nelson. A new exhibit is going to be coming up in April, History in Your Pocket, which is a look at the impact of the innovation and evolution of invention in modern society, which is everything that your cell phone does, what it used to be. So typewriters and calculators, stuff like that. And second Saturday, cultural celebration, celebrating Argentina. And finally, a new student art mural is up, and it is commemorating Earth Day. And that concludes our full report, and we're all available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Katrina, for your very thorough report.
Thank you.
Appreciate that tonight. And let's take our commissioner questions. I will go ahead and we'll start with Vice Chair Audi this time.
Well, thank you very much, Katrina. It's exciting to see the award for the culture map. We talked about that recently. I wore my tie to school the other day, yes, and the kids and staff loved it. It was a hit. So they have a tie. You guys get one of those? Are you? What?
I have a scarf.
Okay. Those are all nice, but that was pretty, you got a pretty good response. I'm a little offended that we did not get an invitation to demolishing what is going to be a community services building. So next time we tear a building down, I think we should get a sledgehammer too.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not our standard practice to host a demolition day, so that was our first. I'm not sure if we'll have many more in our future, but hopefully you've all received the invitation for the official groundbreaking ceremony. The demo day was more so of a photo opportunity. The groundbreaking, that'll be more of a ceremonial event.
Thank you. It just looks so therapeutic.
It did, digging in the dirt is fun, but I mean,
Yeah.
come on,
Smashing
a
a
sledgehammer
wall,
smashing
yeah.
walls?
I
The
go
demo
for
day
that.
was also called Erica Has a Heart Attack Day, as I saw council members run around with
Yeah.
no eye protection and
Yeah.
sledgehammers. I just kept thinking,
So-
Please, no injuries, please, no injuries.
Okay, I get a sense it's not happening again, all right. I got to attend the hip lay. Thanks for staff for helping me out, directing me to get there. But that was unbelievable. It's a group that gives opportunity for diversity in that genre of dance. And those dancers were just doing amazing things. I hurt watching them. They were so amazing, but outstanding performance. And that's it. Great job, staff, and thank you for the great presentation.
Thank you, Vice Chair Audi. Commissioner Krastevsky?
Thank you, Katrina, and congrats to the department on the CPRS award. That's actually like a huge deal. Winning an award with CPRS, it's a huge deal, so congrats on all the hard work. What time is the groundbreaking?
It will be March 31st at 9 a.m.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Commissioner Krastevsky. Commissioner Levine?
Thanks for the report. It was an excellent report, Katrina. Again, kudos on the award. And I just wanted to remark about social media. Since we started tracking that, it's just phenomenal. Month over month, year over year, just the kind of reactions that we're getting. And it's also great to see that, programming like around and about Temecula continues to be, so strong, continues to grow. The park adventures, things of that nature. And apparently I need to, kind of understand a little bit better about Reels, because I think those are those things that automatically play as I'm scrolling through my 5 minutes of social media each day. So I don't know, I'm feeling like the old guy, but
Katrina can
cool
give
stuff.
you a little, 2-sentence what it is, but I would like to say that we are inspired by other cities, so we watch what others do. And one of our inspiration cities has copied our reel for the
Love it.
sports park at Summers Bend, frame by frame. So Katrina
Really?
can tell you a little bit more about that.
Do tell.
Okay, yeah, so Reels are essentially just very short videos. If, like me, Vines were like before Reels, so if you remember Vines, so that's kind of what it is evolved into. Like you said, if they're the things that just pop up automatically, those are the Reels, and that's why they get so much reach, because they are, by the algorithm that Instagram has, they will push it into, based on your demographic, based on what you look like, based on your location, and then they'll just pop up. So that's why we're seeing this big growth of people that normally don't follow us, and that's why we're getting a large increase of followers. We're also starting to produce collaboration reels with the city. Our demo reel was one, and we're capturing their audience as well. So it gets posted simultaneously on both our pages. So anyways, so that's Reels. So it's good that you're getting them Reels popping up. That's what we're hoping for, is that once in a while, ours will get in your feed.
Nice. Well, I appreciate the explanation and continued excellent work, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Levine. Commissioner Hawks?
Thank you, Katrina. And I really like this map. The first time I saw it, and congratulations on the award. And I would say if all the businesses maybe can have these there for tourists to come and grab one. It's a nice size and can put in their purse, and everything laid out really nicely. So I think that'll boost our tourism. And also regarding the museum program, I was talking to Bia earlier, that I really enjoyed that culture of every Saturday morning, travel around the world. 2 days ago, I was there with my kids. And one suggestion I have, maybe we talked about that too earlier, is to have a passport or something to give out to the kids so they can come back, get another stamp, like, oh, I came to this country, next time I will visit another country. I did that with my kids a couple of years ago when we were doing some activities at home. So that might boost. Also, another thing, I feel the number is a little low compared to 2 years ago when we were there. It was crowded and have to wait for our turn to go in to do art with Bigfoot. But this time, last few times I noticed a little small participation. Maybe I know they tried to bring out the countries that not as well known as some big countries, and maybe try to bring back the participation. We can bring back some of the well-known countries, get the participation up, then we can mix them up.
Those are excellent suggestions. Katrina attends the weekly Temecula Valley Museum meetings, and that's where she came from. That's where she worked and helped start Culture Quest and things like that. So she'll share that with Tracy, as I will. And I wanted to say about the map. It is available at all city facilities and Visit Temecula Valley. So we haven't given a copy to every business yet. That will be in the next printing. The first printing was a smaller print. We're happy that it won the award. Katrina found the artist. Gary Hovland is the artist. He lives in Arizona. I don't think he even came and visited. He just did it all online and through conversations. And if you see the first draft of his just written illustration, hand-drawn or on the computer, it looks basically identical to the finished product, just colorized. So you have to look at his website. It is incredible, all the maps he's done all over the world. And you'll recognize his style from magazines, Vanity Fair, Wall Street Journal, etc. But our goal for this map was it to look like a piece of art that you would want to hang on your wall and wear and merchandise it and make it something that's living and breathing, and obviously will be updated as we add things. But our goal was met, that someone else thought it was artistic, functional, interesting. So it was a collaborative process, a long process, and we're extremely proud that it met the goal and it's being recognized on a state level. So thank you so very much for your support.
Thank you.
I think you should have a scarf at your place? Yes, okay, so it's the wearable.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawks. I will just add my kudos, my congratulations on the map. It is a beautiful, it is a piece of art. I have it on my wish list to go ahead and print it out and so I can hang it on my wall, because it is a very beautiful piece of work.
I forgot we talked about that. We will handle that for you.
Thank you, Erica. It is a beautiful piece of art. And if you have lived in Temecula for a long time and you love Temecula, it's something you need to have on your wall. I love it. I will echo, Katrina, your comments on the texture for the rug hook exhibit. I stopped in real quick on Saturday, and I love impressionistic artwork because I love the texture. And so I loved that in these rugs, and I kept wanting to run my fingers on them and to feel that, and I had to go, oh, it's a museum, I can't do that.
Did you see the basket of fibers?
Yes, I played in the basket of fibers.
That was so great, because you stick your hand in, you can feel all the different textures, ask. And we did have some docents there, some ladies that would tell their story, and they're just as excited as we are, so they want to come back. And did you see the girl with the pearl earring?
I don't think so. I know they were very friendly, and I wasn't feeling very friendly Saturday.
Well, one of the exhibits is like an actual piece of art, of Vermeer painting. So in the Flickr reel that you'll have on the report, you'll be able to click through and see all the pieces. But it's pretty impressive how they can replicate artwork, not just pastorals and flowers and Santa Claus and zebras, but actual pieces of art are replicated in rug hook.
Okay. Thank you, Bea. I did get a chance to stop by and look at the new mural for Earth Day. It is beautiful. I think every new installation at there is just better and better. It's beautiful. But what I noticed that got me really excited is we don't have wood chips there anymore. We have a beautiful path, a gravel, like decomposed granite path in front of that. It's beautiful.
And that was a generous donation from the
I believe the Women's Club.
Women's Club, yes. And they also sponsor the art and education room, so they're very committed to the museum. And unfortunately, the reason why we can't have an unveil is our student is away at college, so he's unable to attend, so there will be no formal unveiling.
That's too bad, because it's very beautiful. I'd love to be able to congratulate them and tell them how much we appreciate it.
Maybe
in
we
person.
can get his contact information from Tony and we can send him a
Yeah.
nice note.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great. That'd be great. And I am enjoying the reels. I think each one you guys get funnier and funnier. I mean, the wrecking ball, and then I just burst out laughing when I saw the last one. I was like, I look real good today. And then I'm like, I see Willa, and then I see Tracy, and I'm like, then I see Jeff. I'm like, you guys are just, you guys are insane with your imagination and creative. It is just really awesome. I enjoy it. So thank you very much. And I guess that is the end of our division reports for tonight. So that takes us to the consent calendar on our agenda. And the first and only item on our consent calendar is to approve the action minutes of February 14, 2022. And do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second?
Motion- And second, okay. So we have a motion from Levine and a second from Vice Chair Audi. And let's take a roll call vote.
Yes. So Commissioner Hawks,
Aye.
Commissioner Krastevsky,
Aye.
Commissioner Levine,
Aye.
Vice Chair Audi,
Aye.
and Chairperson Sizemore.
Aye.
The motion is approved, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. We have already done our business section. That was our report from Division Director Hennessy. And now we are at our director report.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have a lot to report tonight since we had such a great and thorough reports from our staff. I did want to say I really appreciate all the shine that our outreach team is getting. The social media presence has just been elevated to such a new level, and it's just been truly extraordinary to see what everybody's been able to achieve. So it's a new era. You know, everything is on social media, and like it or not, whatever, it's the new reality. And our team has really stepped up and showed just an uncommon degree of creativity in trying to spread the word and get our information out there. Something we struggle with is that we can't control those algorithms. And unlike, many years ago, we don't really have a robust press here in Temecula, and it's not like it used to be where everybody reads the same newspaper and opens the page and looks at the information. So it's been really hard to get all of our information out there with all these different channels, and you're competing with everything. I mean, video games and all the different social media feeds and everything everybody's putting out there and what the schools are putting out there. It's like there's so much, you're competing for everybody's attention so much. It's a completely new territory for us. So the team's been doing an amazing job, and I'm glad you all have noticed that and appreciate that. Other than that, just wanted to thank you, Vice Chair Audi, for the shout out for Women's History Month. We are very lucky to have such a strong and talented team of female professionals here in the city, so it's just been an honor being part of that team, and again, having women on our commission is great. It had been a few years without them, and not that everybody wasn't wonderful along the way, but it's very exciting to have women on the commission again, so thank you both.
Thank you, Erica. I appreciate that. I was going to say, on the social media, I noticed there's some I'll call them influencers on Instagram that are in that toddler mom toddler mom influencers, and I do see them resharing and engaging with our content. So we are getting out there. So that is great to see. And now we are at my favorite part of the night, our commissioner reports. So we will go ahead and start with Commissioner Levine.
Thank you, Chair. Really nothing to report apart from just, it was my pleasure to be at the opening of the new pump track, at Long Canyon, I think it's called.
Long Canyon.
Long Canyon, that was great, and then to follow it up with the opening, over at Somers Bend. It was great to see everybody there. I mean, just super well attended, and, again, just, excited that we have new activities here in the park. And once we can connect all those trails, I don't know, you might see me on my bike again. it's gathering dust in the garage. But again, appreciate being there and appreciate all the work that you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Levine. You know what my favorite part of those 2 ribbon cuttings were? We were all together. I loved having all my friends with me, so it was great. All right, Commissioner Hawks?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I only have a quick thing to say that I'm excited about that junior STEM class because last time was the junior women. My son is 11, so I couldn't sign him up, and he loved science. So a few weeks ago, I got the email from Erica that juniors, I wasn't sure. So I went to the website and signed up, but the website, I'm not sure who's in charge of it. It still showed junior women.
Oh, okay, we'll take care of that. Thank you for
Yeah,
bringing that to my
but
attention.
I did sign up, and then I contacted the teacher. He replied,
Perfect.
it's okay for boys. So I'm excited that the boys can go as well, because boys have a lot of interest in the STEM program.
Thank you.
So thank you for including the boys in that program. And another thing is also, I appreciate all the emails you've been forwarding. So especially for myself, I'm new on the commission, so I get to know what's going on in the city and in our community. And one of the things I've been doing is I send out those emails about the Culture Fest to my contacts and encouraging them to participate. And I look forward to participate in that event.
Yes, we're very excited for this inaugural Culture Fest.
Thank you.
That's me, right? Yeah. Thank you. I was starting to write down notes, and I got caught in my notes. Thank you, Commissioner Hawks. I appreciate your comments, and I am very thankful that it's just the junior STEM program. I'm excited because I think we have a unique opportunity with our contract classes to influence the next generation of workers in our community. You know, that workforce development. You know, we're starting to plant the seeds in these future engineers, future tech workers in our community through these programs. So I think that's really, really great. Commissioner Kristofsky?
I'd like to echo what the other commissioners said. It was great being at the pump track grand opening, at the sports park. That was just phenomenal. We've already been there a couple times and used the facility. It's always packed. I was very impressed because it was getting dark one evening and we were walking through the parking lot and all these lights started turning on as we were walking. So there's motion sensor lighting, which is really cool and really thoughtful of the city to not waste energy. So good job on that. And on a personal note, my kids finally were able to go to school without masks today. So that's just another benchmark in this horrible period that we just finished being over. So kudos to the team and just getting through and being so innovative. Again, I'm just super impressed and super thankful that I was able to be part of it and see you guys in action. You know, stepping it up, thinking of these cool programs that were so out of the box. I mean, you guys should win awards all day long from CPRS. Maybe I'll write them a letter. But again, I'm honored to be part of the team, and thank you again for all that you do.
Thank you, Commissioner Kristofsky. Vice Chair?
Yes, I will echo that too. The 2 ribbon cuttings were fantastic. I missed the Summers Bend ribbon cutting, but I've spent a lot of time over there riding my bike around the trails already. It just depends on how construction is going, if you can get on all the trails. And I've always mentioned what a great model that is for circulation. It's a good model to follow in that community. As Citizen Audi, I had an opportunity to do what I talked about earlier, is to see parks maintenance and community services work together. And I was fortunate enough to be a part of the turf removal model native gardens that Stacy is really working on. And I met Stacy and Tracy there. with the intern that I'm working with, and they've got a wonderful project for Vorburg Park, so we're really excited about that to happen. In regard to the map, I've had conversations with staff about, wouldn't it be great to be able to walk or ride your bike to all these special places on the map? And the reality of it is that's not connected. It's not safe to do that. So you have to do it in a car. I mentioned at this dais before about it would be great to ride your bike, to be able to ride your bike safely to all the parks. I wanted to do that, and Mom wouldn't let me.
Or your husband, or I mean, my husband will.
Yeah, your husband would be doing that, yes, but my wife, you know,
Well, yeah.
which is, I love the way you said it. She loves me enough to give me that advice. I tried to ride my bike to work this morning, and it was foggy, and Mom wouldn't let me ride my bike again. So if I had a trail to go on, she would have been perfectly fine. I just would like to, on that thought of culture, it's another thing that we can connect with these trails, with a way to present an aesthetically pleasing, stress-free way to get to these different art exhibits. And I've used the example before that Indianapolis has this, from the south part of their town to the north part of their town, they have what they call the culture trail. And so you think right there in the middle of the country, a city like Indianapolis can do it. We most certainly can do it. That's it. I won't go on. Staff, thank you so much for everything. And I'm going to be missing the next commissioners meeting, so maybe that's why I'm going on and on about stuff, trying to cram everything in for a couple of months with, Culture Fest coming. I will be here for Culture Fest, though, so that's going to be exciting. So thanks, and just really, I wish I wasn't missing, but I've got something good to do.
Well, we will miss you, but enjoy, and we'll see you back in May. Real quick, just to let everyone know, staff is so responsive that they already fixed the junior STEM issue online, so they...
That's Temecula, we get things done. Thank you, I appreciate that. And I appreciate all your comments, Vice Chair Adi. I have to admit, I know I had the conversation with Commissioner Emeritus Borgeson at the Pedigo grand opening, and I've kind of taken this biking thing and at times been like, oh, there they go about the bikes again. Them and their bikes. But I think it's saying a lot, we had the Pedigo grand opening here the past month, and I told them, I'm too big of a woman, I can't get on a bike. And they said, yes, you can. And they got me on a bike, an e-bike, and let me tell you, that thing was fun. And it kind of won me over, and that's saying a lot. It won me over into opening my eyes to the possibility that these bikes could be to our circulation problems. And I could see with e-bikes becoming more and more available, especially in our community, I could see more people looking at it as an alternative for transportation in our community. Definitely when I was younger and I had 3 kids at home and it took loading up all 3 kids in the minivan to go to the grocery store, there was no way the bike was going to come into my life then. But now that I've got college students and high school students, it's definitely a feasible alternative. So I appreciate your comments on that, and I'd love to see I'd love for our city to explore more how we could utilize improving our biking trails to alleviate some of those issues. So thank you. Well, I will go ahead and take my comments now. I did ask Tracy to make a little slide. I had the opportunity on February 28th, I was invited to Cub Scout Pack 384. Their Arrow of Light Den was working on their Building a Better World adventure. And they had a requirement, which was to meet with a government or community leader and to learn about his or her role in the community and to discuss with that leader an important issue facing your community. Well, I was invited there. This was actually a PAC that I was the founding committee chair for and founded back in 2015, so it was kind of fun to return home. And I was excited that they invited me. And then I got there and they're like, we were really trying for someone big like Darrell Issa or Senator Melendez, but they wouldn't return our emails, so we're glad that we were able to pull you out. And I was like, oh, thank you. I feel so awesome. But at the end, because I actually had an hour-long, very engaged discussion with these young men. And we ended up in, the leaders were like, you were the right person to come in here, because Parks and Rec, that is something these boys could relate to. And we had an awesome discussion, and we had to talk about an important issue. So we were talking about parks. They're very big fans of the pump tracks, and they were big fans of the skate park. So we had a great discussion about some of the things we've talked about recently with rebuilding the skate park and the hockey rink. One of them was a young man who wanted to do inline hockey, but there wasn't enough availability for him to get in, so he was excited that we're going to be rebuilding the inline hockey rink out there. And what was really great was getting to share with these young men that some of the most impactful comments we had during public comments came from youth their age, under 18. So it was great to be able to share with them that they have a voice. And they loved their Temecula swag bags. A mom for one of the Cub Scouts there worked with a different city, and she's like, oh, Temecula gives swag bags? I'm like, yes, we do, thank you. So they're very, very appreciative on that. So wanted to share that with you guys. There was an item that was brought up at the March 8th City Council meeting. At the end of the meeting, Mayor Ron asked for an item to be placed on a future agenda, and he specified the next meeting. So I don't know if that's going to come out on the 22nd, which happens to be the meeting that we'll have our annual joint meeting. But what he called for to be discussed by the City Council is the development of a performing arts center and a capital campaign project to work within the community to provide private fundraising for a performing arts center. So I wanted to mention that to you guys so that maybe you guys could attend that meeting or watch the video when it comes up, because I think that would be in line with a lot of what we do here at Community Services. Which leads me to a couple of things I wanted to see if we could have put on a future agenda for us to discuss. The first of those being, Erica, if you could get some more information for me. I have ordinance number 04-06, which called for an establishment of the Arts and Public Places program. Mm-hmm. And it speaks in here of how, as we have builder projects, as our community is more urbanized, lack of access to public art, how developers could include art installations in their building, what they're building, or they could give an in lieu fee.
In lieu fee. Mm-hmm.
I'd love to know how that program has progressed.
Sure.
Do we have money in this fund that we could utilize or think about putting towards future art installations with this Performing Arts Center coming in?
So we can definitely agendize and bring back a staff report giving more information on this ordinance. Really, those monies peaked when the city was in development mode.
Okay.
Now there's a small amount in it's called the Public Arts DIF Fund, Developer Impact Fees is DIF. So there's a small amount in the DIF fund, and it was actually probably going to be allocated to our utility box wrap project,
Okay.
which is, I think you've heard of, and I'm sure we'll be bringing back at a future date. So,
Okay.
but we're happy if you'd like to bring that back on the agenda. We can bring back a receive and file and just provide some information.
Yeah,
on that.
I'd just love to know if we have, have we been consistently getting money out of developers? Because I'm thinking about like with Somers Bend, because it's mentioning, single-family residential units for a project in excess of $100,000, and there's a lot of those out in Somers
And
Bend.
that ordinance is pretty old, so yeah, it's written towards kind of a different time. But yes, We do include that as part of their terms of development, their conditions. But I can find out specifically what we've gotten out of Summer Spend now that you mention it, so.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know, because it'd be great to potentially have something like that go towards some installations as part of this Performing Arts Center, or even just more in Old Town, as we continue to build our presence in the arts and culture in our Old
We're going to
Town
be
area.
giving a subcommittee update on March 22nd at 5 p.m. on the utility box mural program and future requests, if you want to attend that.
And that's open to the public?
Yes, it's
Awesome.
agendized.
Thank you. And the next thing I kind of wanted to talk to my fellow commissioners about, and Erica, at the last city council meeting, the Ready Commission had their annual joint meeting with the city council. And Chair Wilson, as she was sharing, she mentioned their commission's theme and their goals for the upcoming year, which kind of got me a little worried, and I sent a frantic email to Erica going, oh my gosh, I have to have a theme. I didn't have a theme. Why didn't anybody tell me how to pick a theme? And she kind of talked me off the fence on that. And it is something I'd like to see us agendize for future discussion, perhaps at our next meeting. Or another meeting in the future. Coming up with maybe having Erica go back and pull out, why are we here? What was our commission given the job of doing? And have we completed that job? Where are we now? I know back when our commission was founded, I think back in the early 90s, it was a different Temecula, lots of young families. I remember in the early 2000s, I was one of those young families, and I thought, how lucky am I to live in a city that just caters to me, being a young family. And our city has grown. Now we have grandma and grandpa that live in Temecula instead of Orange County, and we have, aunts and uncles. The family has grown. There's more to the family. And there's also people in our community that don't want to have children, that kind of sometimes feel like maybe I don't belong here. And I think it warrants us just kind of maybe taking a look at what's our mission now? What's our goal? What's our theme for the next couple of years as a commission? A couple of ideas that I had was something for every member of the family. That there's something for everyone. So I'd like us to take a look at that and, figure out what's our theme. What's our theme maybe for the next year or two? Does that sound okay? That's good. Okay. But I'd like it to be on a meeting where Commissioner Audi, Vice Chair Audi can be here, because you're an important part of our commission.
So, Vice Chair Audi, you're not here for April, but you're here for May, right?
I was withholding that information.
Oh, my apologies.
I'm gone from
Okay. Well, we will figure something out. We will regroup on this. In terms of the history of the commission, in terms of context, when the Community Services Commission was first founded, the city was very much in new city mode. And the primary role of the commission was as it related to the acquisition of and development of parks. So we acquired a number of parks from the county as we began to annex different sections of the city. We developed parks, we developed parkland. When we got parkland as part of our, developments, Quimby rules, when there was a new development, they had to dedicate a certain amount of land towards parkland. So the focus was really on the development and acquisition of parks and, to somewhat of an extent to facilities. Now we're at a point where the city is close to build out, not all the way there, but most of our projects are infill projects. And now we're in the phase where we're renovating a lot of these original, parks and amenities. So it is a different focus, and also the community has grown. It's quadrupled in size. The demographics have shifted. They continue to shift. I mean, there's a lot to consider. So I can certainly bring back some of the origin documents and just prepare a staff report, and then you can all discuss kind of where you see the focus of the commission going from here forward.
Well, and I think even as we're coming out of the pandemic here, we're different from Temecula than we were even just 2 years ago. You know, I've shared that when my kids were young and I was homeschooling them, I looked at our contract classes. They were a huge help. And, you know, they really helped supplement my kids' education. And, you know, here we are at, 2 years coming out of the pandemic. A lot of families have now turned to homeschooling because for one reason or another, their kids can't be in classes on campus. We have people that were commuting. One of our neighbors used to work with my husband down in San Diego, and they have not been in office since March of 2020. And so they're kind of, okay, now I'm a full-time citizen in Temecula. What does that look like? So I think we Temecula is even different than it was just 2 years ago.
That's a very good point. The landscape has shifted substantially over the last 2 years.
So we may have some new needs, some new needs in our community that maybe we could address through our community services, through our inclusive services. So I'd appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And with that, I think that's the end, and I will go ahead and adjourn our meeting until April 11th, Monday, April 11th, 6 p.m. Thank you.
Yes. Chris is fixing it. There we go. Sorry.
All right,
yes,
now
the-
back for
whoa.
part 2.
Wow, that was very loud. Yes, the joint commission council meeting
Yes.
for us is on the 22nd. So if you happen to watch the last council meeting, they had the joint commission meeting with Ready and I think Planning, Public Traffic Safety, yes. So we'll be putting together a PowerPoint. We wanted to do our video, basically. No, community services, I think, had a bit of a reputation for kind of, what's the word? Showing up, yeah, our fellow commissions. So we wanted to do a video this year, but we were asked to just do a PowerPoint like everyone else. So essentially what they want is an overview of the year, so we'll work with you. We'll put together a PowerPoint, just kind of breaking down the year, and then you can each present your slides if you want to figure out, and however you want to discuss among yourselves without violating the Brown Act. Who wants to do which slides, or Chair Sizemore, if you'd like to kind of delegate who's doing what slides, and then just let us know, and Bea's team will be working on putting this together.
So can you just send the slides out to us like you did last year, so that we can review?
Yes.
And then from that email, we could all just come in and say, I want to do this, I want to do that. Should we plan to do any kind of practice as far as like meeting on a separate day on Zoom? And
If you would like to do a practice, we can either arrange it here in Chambers if you'd like, or we can set up a meeting for you on Zoom. Actually,
We probably can't do that as a group.
yeah, if we do it here in Chambers, we can have each person kind of come up 2 at a time and do their slides. But we probably cannot do a Zoom meeting with all 5 at the same time. But we could bring you in, like to the Zoom, we could bring you in 1 at a time or 2 at a time.
okay.
So
So do we have a preference? Do we want to do a dry run? Do we want to do a run through a practice, trying it on Zoom, in council chambers, or just meet here early?
I
the
think
day of?
meeting here earlier would probably be best for everyone's schedule. It's not that difficult. It's going to be probably 5, 6 slides, 1 for each of you. In the past, we had highlighted what the department did. Apparently, they want to know what you have done, and we will highlight, like in January, we covered this, in February, we covered that, but it's more the impact you as a commissioner has made, not all of the accomplishments the department has made. Naturally, we can highlight some big examples, but it's mostly what your priorities and your impact has been. Do you see it that way?
yes, I do. I think that's very well put, Bea.
When will that be?
You have the PowerPoint, it's given to us, and you select your slide or slides, so you're able to have your own practice.
Okay.
And I mean, and they don't want us to show them up again. I mean,
So,
pretty-
well,
pretty
this
much-
year, we're doing something different. Like, we're not gonna do the special events, these are all the highlights. We're gonna do each of you as a slide, and then kind of like what your top priorities are. So if you want to provide those to me in bullet points, then I can create a slide specifically to your vision, input, impact, and then I can put photos and bullet points that will support that.
Can you send out an email to all of us?
Yes.
So we can
Tomorrow, I'll draft up some blank slides, and then I'll put in, like, say something about bikes and trails, and whatever your passions are, I think you'll be able to speak to more eloquently and extemporaneously. I mean, whether you're going to write out a script or not, we just want to have those talking points so you can convey your messaging.
And when will that be?
That's at the 22nd, council meeting on the 22nd.
March 22nd?
Yes,
That's next week?
yes, yes.
So
The
I
14th.
won't, what time, Tuesday?
Yes.
So I won't be in town.
Oh, okay.
I didn't
So
know
sorry about
that.
that. Oh, okay, so sorry about that. I thought that went out in email. My apologies.
Oh.
We'll make sure we introduce you, and we'll have your picture on the top, on the first slide as well. So we will mention your swearing in as one of the events as well.
And if you don't mind us using maybe some of the pictures of you with your kids at the Second Saturdays, then that will tell the story that you are present at the events and have been going for years. And now that you're a commissioner, you're really giving good input on, future opportunities, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can look and see if I can find some pictures.
Oh, we have some
Oh,
too,
you have?
from
Okay.
the official photographer.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you filling in whatever, give me an outline.
Yes, of course.
All right. Okay, we re-adjourn.
Thank you, Chris.